Need to Know for May 9th, hosted by Jmore's Jonathan Oleisky and sponsored by University of Maryland, Baltimore. Join us here every Tuesday at 12:30 for your weekly news roundup and a discussion of current events. Please feel free to comment and ask us questions in the field below. So, Jonathan, what's new this week?
Hi, Amanda. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Great. It's been an amazingly busy news week just in the last 2 hours, breaking news around the country, but we've got several key things we want to talk with our viewers about and our loyal readers and fans of Facebook. And as we go through this new segment, we hope that you'll comment, ask questions. Amanda here is going to field them. You can stump me. You can add to the conversation, and we'll see where we go on this beautiful day here in Baltimore, Maryland.
All right.
So as we know, this past Sunday, the French elections took place. The centrist Emmanuel Macron, 39 years old, amazing, is the new president. He defeated far-right nationalist Marine Le Pen, who's 48, by 64% of the vote.
That's a landslide.
Here's the amazing thing, Amanda. He's the youngest president since Napoleon.
Wow.
Napoleon was 35 when he took over as emperor.
That's crazy.
Of France. And just to kind of put it in comparison, so Macron was 39, Le Pen is 48, President Trump is 70, and Hillary Clinton is 69. So I'm not sure what this tells us. Perhaps this says that the folks in France want younger leaders.
Perhaps.
Not that our older leaders are a problem, but perhaps we could look to France for our next presidential election in terms of age. But as we talk more about it seriously here, he's an investment banker. He's never held elective office. We mentioned he's the country's youngest president. He's very pro-Eastern European Union. He supports open borders. Le Pen, pro-Brexit, wants to leave the Union. For those who have been following French history, she's an incredibly controversial figure. And to the Jewish community, a very upsetting individual. Her father in the 1970s established the National Front Party, and her father's a very well-known, documented Holocaust denier, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who has multiple convictions for inciting racial hatred against Jews. She, in her time out on the stump, has sought a ban on wearing Jewish and Muslim religious symbols in public. Mm-hmm. And here's an interesting thing. According to Le Monde, a quarter of the registered voters did not show up to vote, making turnout about 75%. So
low.
And one of the challenges is I was listening to some of the national talking heads in the last 24 hours. Now Macron has to seat a government. He has to fill a parliament, and there's another set of elections coming up, so he's not just a lame duck president. So we'll be following that and talking more about that in the weeks to come. So here's the big question. Is Macron good for French Jews? If there are any French Jews out there who are listening, we'd love to hear. And don't you find it interesting that if you include the United States, Great Britain, and France was the only one recently that voted really through its presidential election for open borders and pro-immigration.
Despite all their recent terrorist attacks.
Absolutely. So we'll be watching and wishing the French people much luck in the coming months as they form their government.
Right.
Moving here domestically to the United States, for those of you who've been following the news on Capitol Hill, it's been an incredibly busy week. The former acting Attorney General, Sally Yates, testified on May 8th in front of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee. And you may remember she was the acting Attorney General before Jeff Sessions was sworn in by the Senate, and Donald Trump fired her very early on in his presidency for disobeying him. And that is his right as president, whether you agree with that or not.
And that was because of the airport situation.
Right, that had to do with all of the executive orders that were issued, and she opposed those. So here's what she had to say in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. She said that the National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, most of us who follow the news know who Michael Flynn is. He was the National Security Advisor that President Trump fired, had lied about Russian contacts, and was vulnerable to blackmail by the Russians. Yates also revealed probably a really big news nugget for those of us who follow politics on Capitol Hill. She said that President Obama had warned President Trump not to hire Flynn. And those of you who really follow the timeline know that President Trump didn't fire Flynn until the news of the false statements broke publicly more than a week after Yates alerted the White House chief counsel about these falsehoods.
Right.
So this is all part of the Senate investigation into did the Russians influence the November election.
Right.
Okay.
And these hearings actually bring up more questions about the whole Russian situation than I think that they answered.
Absolutely.
Possibly.
I think a lot of people are just wondering where this is going to go, and stay tuned, and we'll be offering more coverage on it.
All right. So if you're just joining us, this is Jmore's Need to Know on Facebook Live, hosted by our own Jonathan Oleisky and sponsored by University of Maryland, Baltimore. Please feel free to ask us whatever you like in the comments field below, and be sure to like and share.
Well, let's go to a little piece of lighter news today. For those of you who love to follow racing, horse racing, know that it is Triple Crown time. And if you tuned in this past Saturday to the 143rd, running of the Kentucky Derby, Always Dreaming won. It was a soggy, horrible track. Look, I'm not a racehorse. Some people say I look like a racehorse.
No.
I wouldn't want to have been out on that racetrack. It was nasty. And the exciting thing about it, here, May 20th in Baltimore, the second leg of the Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes. And earlier today, we don't know exactly what time this happened, but we understand that Always Dreaming and the entourage came to Baltimore. They wanted to come early to get the horse acclimated to Baltimore and the track. And so everyone go out there. Let's get excited about the Preakness. It's a marvelous support of the Maryland horse racing industry, and it's really a great community day. And it's also a wonderful, when you think about it, tourism and promotional opportunity for the city of Baltimore to shine. So we want to support that. Are you going to the Preakness, Amanda?
No, I don't really go.
Okay.
I have some infield disaster nightmare stories from years past.
Well, we're not going to talk about that today.
No, we aren't. It would be nice to go and sit in the stands and, place some bets. But for the rest of you who are going, get your fascinators ready and your drink cocktail recipes and
Absolutely, and cheer for Always Dreaming. So turning a little bit to some news in Israel, those of you who are ardent followers of Israel know that the Israeli government Sunday approved a bill that would officially define Israel as a Jewish state. Now, what does this really mean? So it's called the Nationality Law, and it's intended to serve as a basic law that would declare Israel the nation state of the Jewish people. Mm-hmm. It addresses national symbols, including the flag, the national anthem, and the right of return for Jews, holy sites in the Hebrew calendar. My guess is within the worldwide Jewish community, this will create some consternation. If you're on the far left, if you're on the far right, you're going to have a strong opinion. If anyone does, we'd love to hear from you. Probably one controversial piece of this bill is the fact that it would demote Arabic from an official language to one with special status, though government services would still have to be available in the language. I remember the last time I was in Israel, and it was a long time ago, and I'm looking forward to going again. What I loved as I looked around and traveled the country was the fact that we had signs in Hebrew, in English and Arabic, and I thought that was really an impressive thing,
right.
and I enjoyed seeing that.
And I know when I was in Tel Aviv, I was just completely impressed by how multicultural and universal it was. I mean, there were people from everywhere there. So.
Absolutely. And I had the opposite experience. I lived in Jerusalem, so it was a little different than Tel Aviv. So let's wrap up today with a bit of a little news nugget about, since we're talking presidents today, not the president of France, let's talk about a former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. So former President Bill Clinton and best-selling author James Patterson are working on a mystery novel. Did you know that, Amanda?
This is very interesting.
Now, will you read it when it's published?
I don't know.
We'll see.
I'm not actually a James Patterson reader, but
are there any James Patterson readers out there?
He's the bestseller. He turns out a book a week, I think.
Interesting. Well, here's the title. In June 2018, The President is Missing will be released. Clinton and Patterson plan to embark on a national book tour to support its release. Here's what I want to know, and if President Clinton were sitting here. President Clinton, did you write it yourself, or did someone scribe it for you?
What are you talking about? He's with James Patterson. James Patterson can write his books blind.
Okay, so then probably, the president talked to James, and James wrote down what Bill had to say. We're going to find out.
We will find out.
Patterson is known for his Alec Cross mystery series, as well as several young adult books.
He's gotten into that foray recently, and I think they're really popular.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap up just really soon. As a reminder, this is Jmore's Need to Know on Facebook Live, hosted by Jonathan Oleisky and sponsored by University of Maryland, Baltimore. You can join us here every Tuesday at 12:30. Follow us at hashtag Jmore Need to Know and see more news at jmoreliving.com. Jonathan, have you got a J word of the day for us?
We do have a J word. We're going to practice our Yiddish, folks.
All
Everyone
right.
get ready. You got to write this one down or record it.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
Sei gesund.
Sei gesund.
Do you know what that means?
It means in good health.
In good health. Be well. See ya. So you might use it as saying, Sei gesund, my dear friend Amanda. And remember, your phone still works, so maybe you can call me. Or better yet, maybe you can watch Jmore on Facebook Live every Tuesday at 12:30. How about that for a shameless plug?
Okay, so that's it for us today. Please, like Jonathan said, join us here at 12:30 Tuesdays. Additionally, you can join us on Fridays at 12:30 for your Weekend Agenda with myself and Simone Allen. In the meantime, have a great week. We'll see you soon. Don't forget to comment, like, and share. And sei gesund!
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care.